Hi, my crafty friends. It's Sue. I'm back with another video. It's been a hot minute since I've had anything on here new, and I apologize for that. I was kind of in a little bit of a slump. Didn't know if I really wanted to continue making YouTube videos, but after thinking about it and really loving the process of creating, I decided if I'm going to make stuff, I might as well share it. So I'm back. If you're new, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for returning. I will ask you to subscribe because it helps my channel, but only do so if you think that it's worthy of it. And hopefully we've shared something that will be of use to some folks. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do some coasters. I know they're being done all over the place, but these I'm going to put my own little spin on. I'm making these for my daughter for her bedroom. So I'm going to be making some round ones. I have the coaster holder mold here, and then I have my other molds over here that look like this. They're going to be round. And I have recently done some Cricut cutouts that I'm going to be laying on the surface of the coaster. And then once the resin is cured and put the vinyl on, I'm going to coat it with another layer of epoxy to seal everything in. And hopefully they turn out good. I've been using my Cricut a little bit more lately and really enjoy it. So I thought, well, as long as I'm doing it, I'll share it with you guys. I do have some resin mixed up over here. The resin I'm using today is the amazing clear cast resin that I have shared with you guys before. I just went and bought a couple of small bottles. I didn't want to use my Let's resin to do the coasters because they're going to just be coasters. They're going to be beautiful and she's going to enjoy them. But I didn't want to use my really what I call quote unquote good resin to do them. I just thought I'd use some of my other amazing clear cast resin that I had on my shelf, just because it's sets up quicker, it doesn't take quite so long, and it'll make my project a little bit faster. I could put these in my my resiner's curing machine, but I thought, well, I probably won't get to it tonight, so it's not worth the time to run that just to do that. Anyway, before I pour anything into my actual coasters, I want to at least get a clear layer of resin at the top, and the bottom part is going to have a vinyl piece in it that will show from the bottom, so I'll have to make sure that I put it upside down when I do this. Not sure how I'm going to get there yet. We'll figure that out later. But for now, I just want about half of this to be clear resin, and then the rest of it will be resin to match the coasters. So I'm going to pour that part of it now. Okay. Just want to get some of that resin that's laying on the top off on the side. I don't want to waste too much of the resin, so I'm just trying to scrape as much of it into the mold as I can. Okay, so that part is done. I'm just going to set this over here for a second to let it degas a little bit. And now I'm going to bring my main resin back in, and I do have some, sorry, I'm looking for another popsicle stick. I do have some different micas here that I'm planning on using, so I'm going to use them to color the resin. I want it to be similar to the walls in my daughter's bedroom. She is an adult, but she likes to lay her drinks on her table and whatnot, and she doesn't want to stain her table. Plus, She just liked the coasters I made for my own house. So I thought I will make her some, and I got her take on what she wanted. So we've already cut everything out on the Cricut. And I've already weeded it, which was a little bit time consuming in and of itself. Someday maybe I'll show you that process, but nobody wants to sit through that relentless weeding process. So I just put 2 different colors of mica powder in here. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't even share the names with you. I have electric blue from Rolio, my usual, and I'm sorry, one of my lights is down tonight, so I've only got a couple lights on. So I apologize for the shadows here. And I also have turquoise from Rolio as well. So I'm just going to mix this up. Get it that kind of bluey green color, because that will match her walls very nicely. I didn't put more than just a couple of scoops in here because I don't want it to be super dark, but I want there to be enough of a contrast because she chose kind of a silvery pearlescent gray for the Cricut cutouts that I did. So I'm hoping that this doesn't overpower it. I don't think it will. So I've mixed those mica powders into my resin, and I'm going to move that off to the side for the moment. I want to bring out my leveling board. And set it up here so I have it ready. The board is a bit dirty. Let's see how we're doing for level. Oh, it's got hair on it too. Isn't that lovely? All right, we're a little bit low on the one side here. So I'm going to raise this up over here a little bit. Hopefully I'm raising it and not lowering it because I can't see what I'm doing. Make sure I'm not sitting on anything. Yeah, I'll have to raise that up a little bit. So what has everybody been up to? I know it's been, like I said, a hot minute since I've been on here. Is there anything anybody's working on that they are particularly proud of that you'd like to share? Anything you'd like me to work on that I can share with you folks? I'm always game for a new adventure. With our lovely rainy weather that we've been having here, we haven't really been able to get outside and do much gardening or anything. Don't know whether you guys are into gardening or not. Okay, that's not too bad. At least it's in the center. It's not perfect, but it'll do for this first layer. So I'm going to put my coasters all up here, and I apologize that you can't necessarily see all of them, but you'll be able to see most of them, and it's going to be the same process for everything. So I'm just pouring my resin into each coaster. I don't want to fill it to the top. I just want the bottom layer for right now. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to put our vinyl cutouts in here, and hopefully they will be beautiful. Do the clear in the mold here for the coasters, the coaster holder, but I do have quite a bit of my, well, not quite a bit, I have a little bit of my other resin, the colored resin that I just did left over. So I'm just going to pour it in on top. If it sinks and it mixes, that's fine. It'll be an interesting look. So I will be back with you guys in the blink of an eye. Stay tuned. All right, we're back. It's been a couple of days since I poured my coasters and started my coaster holder. Couldn't think of the word. So let's take a look at what we're doing next. this is how the coasters turned out. I think the color is stunning. It's, without going in there and actually looking at it, it was very, very close to the wall color in the room that they're going to be used in. So I was very happy with that. They all turned out fairly level, and they all have about the same amount left at the top between the where the resin was poured and where the outer lip of the coaster is. So the next step in this process is getting our cutouts from our Cricut ready to go. And at the moment, I'm not going to be able to remember what the name of the creator is or the store is on Etsy, but I got these different images off of an Etsy shop, and I will put the link down below in the description so that you guys can have access to it too if you should be so inclined. But these are the cutouts that I did on my Cricut. So this is the moon phases, obviously, with the moth. There's a sun and moon. Here's a moon and clouds by itself. These images were all amazing. Great shout out to the creator there, for sure. Here's a black cat and a moon. A snake. And a bumblebee. These were a little bit difficult to weed. They're very detailed. Not going to lie about that, but I am just in love with how they turned out. The one for the moon and star, or the moon and the sun, is actually going to go on the bottom of this, so that when you take the coasters out, you see the image. I have no idea how that's going to happen since it was printed the other way. So what I think I probably will do is once the holder comes out of this, I'm going to pop the whole thing out and then put it on and put a layer of resin over it, or perhaps a sealer of some sort. So we'll address that in a second, but I wanted you to know that's what this image was for. So now we have some transfer tape here. I don't know the weight or the grip of this. The only thing I can tell you is that it's a transfer tape from Cricut. Sadly, when I purchased it and I took it home, I just, of course, threw everything away because that's what you do, and that's what I do apparently now. So what I want to do here is get as close to the right size on my transfer tape so that I'm not struggling to get the tape inside, since there is still a lip. I don't want to have to smush the outside pieces and try to get everything in there and get it flat. I want it to be as uniform as I can, and as close to the size as I can. I'm sorry, I'm looking for scissors. That's why it sounds like I'm talking far away. I also need a pen. All right. So I know that this is not the right dimension. This is just a place to get me started. So for those of you who are thinking that's still not going to fit inside, you're right, it's not. But it gets me a starting point. I know that the dimension inside needs to be smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. If you're transferring onto a tumbler or something, obviously this is not an issue. This is a unique scenario, so I do have to try to get my transfer tape approximately the same size. I want to make sure that the tape at least goes to the edges, which it does. So now, through the miracle of editing, I will return and have a complete circle cut out here for you guys to marvel at. Okay, so now we have an appropriate size for our vinyl transfer. Now the next thing is to hopefully be able to fit our vinyl on our transfer tape, and I think it should. If I measured everything correctly, we should be in pretty good shape. and it looks like it is. Okay, so I'm going to peel the backing off of my transfer tape. Okay, that was a nightmare. If you guys have any at the ready kind of ideas for how to do that without it being so painful, as far as peeling these away from the paper, or any other peeling for that matter, I would love to hear about it because I am terrible at it. Okay, try to get this on the best I can. Looks like I did a fairly decent job. One thing I don't have is my my trusty Cricut scraper. It's in my other room. And if this doesn't work, then I will go get it. But let's see what we have when we pull this away. My worry is that this transfer tape isn't going to be sticky enough. All right, hold please, I will be right back. All right, I got my Cricut scraper. Hopefully I can scrape this well enough, or get this stuck enough so I can get it off of the backing paper and onto the transfer tape. So let's see how this goes. I know people say you can use the transfer tape over and over again, and I did put it right back on the backing paper, so hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. I'm already having problems with these little dots, which I was afraid would happen. You're going to see my lack of skill here. Yeah, this is not even, only some of the little bits and pieces are coming off. This is not good, folks. I may end up having to edit this out and get different kind of transfer tape. Well, I lost one of my little dots. I'm going to try this process over again and see if I can use a new piece of tape, if it'll be any better. So I'm going to take you away for a moment so you don't have to struggle watching me to do this whole cutting piece again. And I'll be right back. And if it doesn't work, then I'll let you know that I'm going to go out and get a new piece, or a new set of transfer tape. So I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so I'm back. I've cut a brand new, totally sticky, fresh piece of transfer tape off of the roll, and I've done a terrible job laying it down here, but I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that we do good here. So let's keep our fingers crossed. This tape worked fine when I had a different project that I was working on that was equally detailed, if even not more so detailed. It could just be that I'm trying to do this in front of you guys, and I'm just struggling with it. So let's see what happens now, shall we? And if I have to cut out a brand new one of these each and every time, I will. That little dot is still stuck to my finger from the previous one. And I know that part of the problem is yeah, it just looks, I don't know, you guys. I think I might have to get a better transfer tape. Stay. It's been just a second for you. It's been a few hours for me. And I want to share something with you. I'm not exactly sure where in the video I'm going to insert this part. Probably what you've seen so far is me struggling to transfer our cute little cutouts, like our kitty and our moth and our snake and our moon. We had some difficulties yesterday, for sure, trying to get these onto our coasters. And although it could be the tackiness of the transfer tape, I will say that in experimenting, I learned a few things, and I think I'm to the point where I've kind of figured it out. So with that, I want to show you this. So I was able to finally get my bee on my coaster. I'm going to show you the process that I followed to do this and kind of walk you through it. One of the things that I thought was really important is if you have something like this, cut out your main feature from your bottom features and your top features so that it's easier to transfer instead of trying to transfer the whole thing at once. The bee was an opposite impression of what I have for the moth here. The moth, you'll notice the spaces that I've already weeded are connected to the main body of the creature, whereas over here, there's a separation between the designs on the wing and the actual wing itself. So all of these little spaces in here are all separate. And they were having a difficult time picking up on the transfer tape and moving over. But I uncovered a couple of things. First, like I said, cut out this top laurel section, cut out the moons separately, which I will do right now. And then when you're transferring it to your transfer tape, pick the transfer tape, leave the transfer tape, how do I want to say it? When you have the transfer tape like this, have the image up here like this and pull away with the paper on the top side and the transfer tape underneath and peel it away that way. For some reason, that seemed to work so much better. In addition, get it in a place where you can really see what you're doing. Doing it over the table like this with the camera and everything does make it a challenge, for sure. There's no question. So doing it on my own, in my own little space, where I didn't have as much to worry about, did help a lot. So I'm going to back my camera up here a little bit so you can see everything a little easier. So I am going to cut out some of my transfer tape. I don't want it worked with an oversized piece of transfer tape. And I'm sorry if this is making a lot of noise. I don't want to work with something that's too big because it makes the process that much more difficult. So I do generally try to fit my image as best I can onto the tape without wasting too much at the same time. So I think I like this. I'm just going to cut straight across here to start. I don't like wasting any more than you guys do, probably, so I'm being as careful as I can to not waste too much of my tape. Nothing is cheap these days, and you don't want to have too much waste. But I think I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So I'm getting ready now to take this and move it over to my transfer tape. Bring my image back over here. First, make sure I've got it lined up correctly. And it looks pretty good, so I'm going to put my tape down. Yep, captured everything. So now I flipped it upside down. I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer for this. And again, this is not a tutorial. I'm learning with you guys, so don't treat this like I should know what I'm doing, because I don't. I'm learning as I go, which is why I like to come on and do these videos, because hopefully we can all learn together. All right, so I'm starting by peeling up just the corner here and seeing if I can get my moth started and kind of guided down to my transfer tape here. And now with the transfer tape on the bottom and the backing on the top, it's much easier to pull away versus what I was trying to do when I was doing this yesterday. You will have little pieces here and there that will try to remain unstuck to your tape, but voila. So this is much easier. I didn't actually, for those who are curious, yesterday I mentioned I was going to go out and get a different kind of tape. I did not do that. This is the same tape I was working with yesterday. It's just that I've discovered that if you turn it over upside down, so your transfer tape is like this, peel the backing off instead of trying to do it the opposite way that I was doing it yesterday. So now that I've got this guy to go, ready to go rather, sorry, to go. It's like, it's not a meal, it's just to go. There's a couple of things that I want to figure out first, which are the moon and the laurel situation here. So I know these are going to go up here like this, and the moon comes down here at the bottom. Or at least that's how it was laid out on the original. I could turn this around and do it a different way, but I want to get a basic idea of where I want my moth to go. So right about where I was going to put it is just about perfect. So I'm going to put him almost dead center. And this is totally eyeballing. I think it looks pretty good there. Yeah, all right. I think we did it. So I'm going to burnish this tape. And this I found works just as well with my fingers as it does with my little Cricut burnishing tool. And then I'm going to come over here where I can see the edge of the tape and just start lifting that up. Now my hands are in the way. I'm going to turn here in a second so you can see. But now I'm just lifting the transfer tape. And my vinyl is sticking out here just fine. Or sticking on here, out here. Boy, I can't talk. And we have transferred over our beautiful moth. And he did just fine. I have a little bit more of a gap over here than over here. I see that. I don't care. It's mine, and I can make it look like I want it to. So that's how I've decided to do it. Now I do want to see if I can try to save my transfer tape. So I put it back on the backing paper. I want to see if I'm able to use it again. And now we have our moons. Now I could put these on a transfer paper or on transfer tape and make it easier to go, which I probably will do. The one thing with these kind of designs is some of these little dots that are in the design can be a pain. What I've determined is if I lose them, I lose them. I'm not going to sweat it because they are just little dots. They look cute, and if they can stay, then terrific. But if not, again, I'm not going to worry about it. I want to see. I just peeled off the same transfer tape that I just used. I want to see if I can use this. It's probably not going to be big enough, is my my guess at this point. Might be though, we might be able to get most of them, and then if we miss a couple, that's okay. Let's see if we can get this off and get some of these moons to come off onto the transfer tape. Again, if my hands are in the way, I'm sorry. It's not intentional. I'm trying to do my best to get these guys off without ruining anything. Okay, so let's come over here, see if we can get this first moon to come off. And he did. Next one is coming as well. Oh, the little dots came off nicely. Oops, 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 oops. Everything just wants to flop back into place without coming off nice and easy. But I'm actually glad I stuck this out, because for you guys that just want to have, you know, basic supplies and not have to go out and get special things. Like, I don't want to always have to be running to the store to buy a different kind of vinyl or a different kind of transfer tape. I want it to just kind of happen with what I've got, and I don't want to have to worry about it. And this turned out nice. So there's all my moons. I even was able to save my little dots. So I'm going to bring this back over and hopefully get this lined up where I want it. It's just a little bit too low on this one side over here. So I'm just going to adjust it a little and stick these guys down. And like I said before, you should be able to just use your fingers to transfer these over without having to do too much extra work. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. It's homemade. If I wanted it to be perfect, I'd go to the store and buy it already made and not worry about it. But we should be able to just pull our tape away now and have everything right where we want it. I can go back through and kind of get some of these air bubbles out of my vinyl, either with my fingernail or with my weeding tool like I'm using here, or I can use my little cricut burnishing tool. But for the most part, you should be good to go. So that worked. Now I'm going to use the same transfer method for my little leaves over here. Just burnish them down a little bit. I don't want this tape sticking too much to my table, so I'm just going to burnish them from the back. Again, use your fingernails, use your weeding tool. This little guy is a lifesaver. If the only thing that you want to get out of your kit is the weeding tool, that's what I would recommend, because I have used this more than anything. I bought a kit with this tool, the burnishing, the big flat tool you saw me use yesterday, and then the spatula type thing. This is pretty much the thing I'm using the most. The burnishing tool I definitely use. I would be using it right now if I hadn't left it in the other room. And the little spatula thing, I haven't really found a use for it yet. Doesn't mean it won't come in handy at some point. Just haven't used it yet. And this method of working upside down seems to be key. You will find times that you have to guide it a little bit, where they don't want to stick necessarily. They just want to stick to the backing paper. But it's not, the way that I'm learning to do it now, it's not detrimental. I'm kind of pushing the vinyl, or I'm kind of pushing the backing paper back and letting that sort of peel off. I'm going to see if I can show you what I mean. See if I can get a little closer. This little star didn't want to come off, so I'm pushing it. And if you can see right here, there's a little pokey piece of the star sticking out. And I'm just guiding it off with my tool. And everything just came right off. So there it is on our backing, or on our sticky tape rather, our transfer tape. And now I'm just going to turn that upside down because it's going to go at the top of our coaster. I'm going to try to figure out exactly where I want it. This looks pretty good. Oops. The tape just wants to stick to your fingers. So I'm just shuffling it in there where I want it. Pressing it down. Again with my fingers. I'm not using any undue tools or any undue pressure. And once I peel it off, it sticks beautifully. And I've reused this sticky tape, I keep calling it. I've reused this transfer tape now. And there it is again. And that turned out amazing. So one thing I do want to share with you guys that's kind of funny is when I was doing my bee, before I figured out this method that I'm using now, and I hope this was helpful to some of you because I'm just learning, like I said, as I go. But when I first tried to pull this bee off, I had to actually recut this bee. This is a brand new one. When I tried to get him off the backing paper, I just tried to peel him off as a whole. And since it's just an outline, it was a mess. It ended up getting stuck to itself, curling up, losing its whatever. It was a mess. I ended up tossing it out. I had to crumple it all up and throw it in the garbage because it was a mess. So I did go through 2 iterations of the bee. This is my second one, and he turned out much better than I could have hoped that he would. So I'm definitely on a roll here. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this process. These are the 2 most complex ones out of all the ones that I cut and weeded. The rest of them, as you've seen, are a little bit more straightforward. I don't anticipate an awful lot of problems with this moon. However, I may cut the stars out separately, so I might just do that now and show you what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to cut this portion that's not attached to anything off of my main body of my print. That way they're not getting in the way, and I'm not having to worry about them independently from this. The rest of this guy, just about everything is attached to one another with the exception of the eyes and these little shading details. So I'm hoping that those aren't going to be too much of a nightmare, but we'll see what happens. So he should be pretty straightforward. This guy is just one solid piece. So I'm anticipating absolutely no problems with this. Maybe just the flower petals. I see now that those are separate with some of these little leaf details. But if I lose them, I'll lose them. Again, I'm not going to sweat it. And then the snake, these details, the lines are attached to the main body, but the little dots are not. So we'll see what happens there. I'll probably end up cutting out some of these other features to make sure that I can get him on the coaster okay. So I'm going to take this away. I've already talked for way too long here. I'm going to take this away. I'm going to work on it, see what I can come up with, and then we'll be ready to pour some resin on after I've got everything transferred. But I wanted to share that with you. So stay tuned. In just a blink of an eye, we're going to be back with our coasters all completed, and I'll be ready to do some resin pours. See you in a minute. All right, so I've completed all of my transfers. You can see that they all transferred over just fine. I had to do him in bits and pieces, and I did have to cut off some of the cloud because he was a little bit too big. I'm not sure why. But as you can see, the rest turned out good. And I never did show you the coaster holder. So after I'd poured the clear resin on the bottom, I'd over poured with the same mixture that I had for the coasters. And it actually created this really cool, swirly, kind of amorphous type of pattern. So I'm really looking forward to demolding that when it's all said and done. But I still have to pour the final layer and get this up to speed as with the others. I've already completed pouring my resin together, mixing it. I'm letting it degas. Then we'll be adding it to the top of the coasters here. So I'm going to do that off camera, and I will be right back once everything is poured. See you in just a second. Okay, so I've got the last level of resin poured on top of each of these coasters. It's going to be really, really, really hard to show you that it's in there, but trust me, it is. Might be able to see it there because you can see the bubbles on the top of that one. All right, but all of the resin is poured. It's all set to go. Right now I'm just going to let them sit overnight, and we'll be back in the blink of an eye to show you the results. I just want to show you how these cool coasters turned out. So after much of the aggravation of trying to get these to work, this is what they look like. So there's the moon. If I can get it in the right light, you'll be able to see the pattern in there. There's the kitty. Oops. Oh, that's sorry. They kind of stuck together a little bit, so I had to peel them apart. There's the kitty. And the snake. The moth. And the bee. And then here's the final coaster holder. Did have a few problems with the air bubbles at the very top. You can see them here. But overall, I like how this turned out. And I did just put the vinyl in the bottom there with the sun and the moon. I like how the resin dripped down when I poured that first layer on top. So I'm extremely pleased with them. My daughter loves them. And that concludes my video. If anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to see in future videos, I am happy to see what I can produce for you. So give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, share it with whoever you'd like to see this. And I appreciate all the support, the new subscribers, my following subscribers. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day whenever and wherever you are. Take care, stay safe, happy, and healthy, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.